Okay, let's unpack this. Today's deep dive is really something else. It feels like we're trying to decode the mind of well, a modern-day philosopher almost.
Yeah, it's quite a collection we've got here. The source material isn't, a finished book or anything formal.
No, not at all. It's raw, completely unfiltered thinking. Notes, sketches, random ideas, all from this individual, Jason Ballantyne. He also uses his middle name, Kawasi, and online he's known as Bootleg Jesus.
It really is like being handed someone's brain dump, isn't it? You get all the messy brilliance, the fascinating contradictions, everything.
It absolutely is. So
Mhm.
our mission here really is to sift through all this material, this kind of intellectual tapestry, find those golden nuggets, those key insights.
And try to understand the connections he's making, because they're pretty profound.
Exactly. Connections between, how society is structured, personal growth, and this really compelling vision he has for, well, a better future.
You should probably prepare yourself. It's a bit of a wild ride, intellectually speaking. We're covering everything from, blueprints for a utopian society, these cryptic tarot readings he does, this unique philosophy he calls bootlegging, and a really sharp critique of, the way things are now.
It sounds incredibly interwoven.
It is, yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with that core concept then, the bootlegging.
Yeah.
What exactly, based on the sources, does he mean by that? It's obviously not just about copying movies.
Right. Definitely not. He defines it as, and this is a direct quote, reclaiming what has been kept from us.
Reclaiming. Okay.
Yeah, and the examples he gives really clarify it. Things like sharing knowledge that's stuck behind paywalls or building alternative systems when, corporations are hoarding all the resources.
We're just outthinking the system designed to trap you.
Exactly. It's this active assertion of agency. It's about taking power back in a way.
So it's focused on creating solutions, not just sort of waiting for someone else to fix things. The intention seems pretty clear, too. He says, not about breaking law. It's about breaking the illusion that we're powerless.
Precisely. And interestingly, he says this whole process, this revolution, it has to start internally first.
Internally. How so?
Well, the notes talk about bootlegging the revolution in our own minds first, which means basically freeing your own thinking.
Okay. Freeing it from what?
From the idea that the world has to work the way it does now. Rejecting that little voice inside that says you can't change anything, that you're powerless. It's about truly believing change is possible yourself.
That's a powerful idea. It reminds me a bit of, cognitive liberation theories. That internal shift has to happen before anything external can change. He has this analogy, right?
Yeah, it's a great one. He says it's like copying a forbidden song in your head, a song of freedom and hope, and playing it on repeat until you can't be fooled by the old tune.
Wow. So how does he suggest people actually do that? How do you bootleg ideas in your own mind?
He lays out some practical steps, like actively seeking out hidden truths, learning about people who actually challenged unfair laws and succeeded, discovering alternatives that already exist.
So filling your mind with blueprints of a better world, as he puts it.
Exactly. It's this conscious effort to cultivate a different perspective, a different internal library of possibilities.
And the consequence of doing that, according to him.
Well, he says once you do that internal work, you can no longer be easily controlled,
Uh-huh.
which, and he notes this directly, makes you dangerous.
Dangerous.
To whom?
To the existing systems, presumably. The idea is that systems of control fear people who can genuinely imagine a different reality, people who can't just be bought off or, silenced.
Right. And that internal shift naturally leads to action then. It's not just thinking.
No, definitely not. He emphasizes finding somewhere to take action. He gives examples like maybe organizing a local food co-op to distribute food directly among yourselves.
Kind of bypassing the system.
Yeah, or just generally refusing to play by the rules sometimes. He says every time we refuse to play by the system's rules, it reminds the world that we were never truly dependent on it. That's quite a statement. It also seems like the word bootleg has a really deep personal meaning for him, too. Something about incorporating the Most High.
Yes, exactly. He links it to incorporating aspects of the Most High into our own life so that we can exemplify our best self. It connects to this constant drive he mentions, always trying to learn, always trying to prosper.
So it's personal growth and societal change, kind of feeding each other.
That seems to be the idea, yes. It highlights that personal dimension within the bigger critique.
Okay, let's pivot to that critique then.
Yeah.
His assessment of the current world order. It seems pretty central to his whole philosophy. He argues, basically, that most of us are just pawns in a game, right?
Pretty much. Playing a game we didn't design, following rules we didn't write, and always asking permission for things we arguably already have the power to do.
That's a strong claim.
It is. And he critiques what he calls a system that tells us we have a choice, but only the choice it allows.
What kind of examples does he give for that?
Well, things like how you almost have to go into debt for education, or how you need a certain job or wealth to get decent health care, or the idea of the ladder to financial freedom always being pulled away just as you get close.
Right, the feeling of the goalposts constantly shifting.
Exactly. And this leads him into this concept he discusses, silent weapons for quiet wars.
Okay, that sounds ominous. What does he mean by that? Is he talking about literal weapons?
No, not literal weapons. It draws on some older theories, but his take is about methods of control that aren't direct violence. Think economic manipulation, psychological warfare, tech surveillance.
Ah, okay. So subtle forms of societal engineering.
That's the idea. He claims these methods are used to keep things as they are, keep people complacent, essentially illustrating how the system is rigged against us.
He seems quite convinced of this.
Very. There's a strong feeling in the notes that a war is going on against each of our conscious individual lives, that we're being attacked by, his words, these corporate machines that just want to suck as much money out of us as they can.
Wow. And does he connect this to things like politics and media?
Oh, yeah. He makes observations about politicians being bought, about how apps and media are designed purely for engagement to keep us hooked, rather than actually helping us learn or solve real problems.
Which ties into his critique of what he calls the dopamine culture, right?
Exactly. This culture of constant outrage, chaos, noise, leading to what he calls brain rot.
Brain rot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we end up chasing these like synthetic values, money, fame, superficial success, instead of focusing on fundamental human needs. You know, actual education, healthcare, food, shelter, transport, the basics.
Okay, so that's a pretty bleak diagnosis of the problem. If that's the issue, what's the cure, according to him? He proposes this vision, right? Omnia?
Yes, Omnia. And what's really striking about it is that it's not just some vague pie-in-the-sky idealism. He gets into detailed plans for how society could be restructured.
Really? Like what kind of details?
Well, specific proposals like universal basic income, a 32-hour standard work week, redesigning the job market so work is actually meaningful and contributes to the common good.
He puts numbers on it too, doesn't he?
He does, like a $20 an hour minimum wage and a UBI structured to ensure everyone has a decent basic standard of living. Specific figures.
And what are the core values driving this Omnia vision?
It seems to be built firmly on equality, sustainability, and a strong sense of community. It's aiming for a much more holistic approach to how society functions, looking after well-being in a broader sense.
You even include sketches, right? This city on a hillside.
Yeah, these visuals that offer a sense of refuge, community, shared purpose. It reinforces the whole concept.
And then there's the American plan. That sounds very specific.
It is. It's presented as a really concrete proposal. A 20% tax on all goods and services, that 32-hour work week again. And get this, a $1,222 monthly wellness stipend for everyone.
Wow, that's bold. Does he give a timeline or a target?
Yep. A financial goal of $4.8 trillion and a target year of 2042. It's framed almost like a prophecy, or at least a very concrete objective to rally people around.
Okay, that definitely raises questions. I mean, proposing such radical shifts, how does he see this actually happening? Does he address the potential consequences, good or bad?
Well, he frames Omnia as part of a peaceful revolution.
Peaceful.
Yeah. The idea isn't violent overthrow, but dismantling the old systems of control and building this better world through a big shift in awareness and collective effort.
So changing minds leads to changing the structure.
That seems to be the core idea. And his path for reforming government isn't about tearing everything down instantly, but using innovation, building new platforms, using strategic voting ways to empower people to actually participate more directly and shape their own future.
So enabling engagement rather than just imposing a new system from the top down.
Exactly. And, shifting gears a bit from these huge societal plans, the notes also get really personal.
Okay, how so?
You see him grappling with things like faith, wrestling with meaning in what he calls a godless ocean.
That's intense.
It is. And he seems to land on this idea that if life is inherently meaningless, then we have this huge responsibility to create meaning.
By doing what?
By building a world based on love, compassion, justice, actively creating the values we want to see.
There's also that line about individual responsibility, about our species maybe not being ready.
Yeah.
That seemed quite profound.
Oh yeah, that one stood out to me too. My species might not be ready, lacking the maturity to overcome our own limitations. It feels like a real call for personal growth, for inner work, as kind of a necessary step before we can build that better world.
It adds a layer of realism, maybe, acknowledging the internal obstacles.
Definitely. But despite acknowledging those limitations and all the chaos he critiques, there's still this really strong, almost unwavering faith in humanity's potential.
Right, he has that hopeful question.
Yeah, given the incredible progress we've made as a species, could you imagine what we might be like in the future? Even with all the critique, there's that underlying optimism.
Now, one of the most, let's say, unique aspects of these notes is his use of tarot cards. How does that fit in?
It's fascinating, isn't it? He seems to use tarot readings almost as a framework, a tool for understanding his own experiences, his challenges, his internal state.
Does he mention specific cards?
He does. He interprets them in his own context. Like the Ace of Swords represents truth cuts through illusion. A new beginning is possible, but it requires clarity and courage.
Okay.
Or the High Priestess, which prompts ethme and pensiveness introspection.
Yeah.
Love, abundant, what's already around uncovers it. So looking inward for answers.
And the Knight of Cups.
That one he sees as a messenger of hope Aries offering inspiration and a new perspective.
So it seems like this whole intellectual journey, the societal critique, the utopian vision, it's also deeply tied to his own personal process of, like, self-discovery,
Yeah.
self-actualization.
I think that's a really good way to put it. It feels like a mission to become, as he says, more in tune creatures with creation. It's as much about changing himself as changing the world.
And this inner work finds outward expression too, right? Through creativity.
Absolutely. The notes are full of it. Sketches for product designs, website layouts, even a proposal for doing a podcast, actually.
Huh, that's interesting. And there's that blend of, like, practical ideas and artistic flair, the BoodleAmazon.com sketch.
Yeah, it's such a great example. It's a practical business idea, kind of, but with that playful, rebellious name. And the layout itself mixes stores, school library, commerce, education, knowledge, all intertwined.
Very symbolic of his broader thinking.
Totally. And then there's the big book.
Oh, tell us about that.
It's a sketchbook he apparently gave to kids in his neighborhood just for them to fill up however they wanted. He calls it a living testimony of the human condition.
That's a beautiful idea. Just fostering collective creativity like that.
It really is. And it connects to why he seems to consistently post on TikTok to spread art, love, positive emotions, using creative channels to get the message out.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have. And honestly, it feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this person's mind. The sheer scope of his thinking is, well, it's really impressive.
Yeah, he's not just looking at one piece of the puzzle. He's connecting politics, economics, social issues, spirituality, even technology.
It really is like he's trying to map out a complete path to a better future, hitting it from all angles, acknowledging how complex it all is and that you need, a multifaceted approach.
And I think this deep dive, digging into his thoughts, it really resonates, doesn't it, with the kind of anxieties and hopes that are floating around right now.
Definitely. It sparks curiosity, it challenges your assumptions, it kind of inspires you to think bigger about what's actually possible beyond just the way things are.
And the core principles he keeps coming back to: equality, sustainability, community, the power of individual action. These are things I think most people can connect with, right? Regardless of where you stand on specifics.
Absolutely. It's about finding that common ground, those shared values that maybe could unite people and actually trying to build something better.
You know, they say the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Right.
And this deep dive, it's not like it gives us all the answers or some perfect blueprint we just need to follow.
No, not at all.
But it really does show the immense power of just imagining something different, having the courage to envision a world that's more fair, more just, more fulfilling for everyone.
Yeah, the power of that vision itself is significant.
So maybe the ultimate takeaway here isn't about adopting his specific plans, but about the process. That real change starts with each of us looking at our own beliefs, our values, our actions.
And then maybe like that Knight of Cups messenger he talked about, sharing our own thoughts, engaging in these kinds of conversations.
Exactly. The power to create change, maybe it really does lie within each of us. So I guess the question we leave you with is, what will your step be?
Something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.
That's it. Not it. That was not it. You gotta jump into...
Like, that's it. And just get it in the air. I need a better one, but like...
I'll start.
Even louder.
And then you're gonna shush me, right?
Yeah, we're gonna shush you, yeah.
Count. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
So that's it. Shh. The grump needs... Shit.
Sorry.
He said a bad word. $5. $5.
You're gonna be a rich muppet at the end of this day.